Do you consider discipline a dirty word, or do you think it's a good thing? Well, I'm curious. The first response I get when I hear the word discipline is, oh my God, what do they want from me? What am I supposed to be doing? And of course, that's not the best reaction. But I also know if I look at from a distance to discipline, it's actually a good thing. So today I want to talk about discipline, look at it from different angles, and I want to start with that one thing that I absolutely dislike the most when it comes to discipline, and that's planning, actually. So people say discipline is about planning. So Brendon Burchard often talks about the high performance planner, and I've filled out, I don't know, dozens of these things. Ever since he got one, I'm looking at one right now, and at some point I quit doing it, and I think it must have been around the time that my mom passed away. No, actually, it stopped around the time that we got the Growth Day app. So because there was the app and I was doing things in there, I stopped actually writing things down in the planner. So apparently, the moment that there is a substitute, then the need for one goes away and the other comes. And of course, it's when it comes to discipline, and it's about, do we keep on doing things? We can actually wonder if we get to keep doing things, or if we stop doing things because something else distracts us. So, by the way, if you want to join and talk about this subject, then please do. So, back to planning. Like I said, I absolutely dislike planning. And so Brendon has this whole timeline written down, and he says, well, if I look in there in your calendar, then I need to be able to see what you have planned and what you're going to do. Well, most of the time I know it by heart, and I do have to admit that I have this very handy app on my phone, and it literally reminds me of things. I can repeat them over and over again. I can reuse them, and it's kind of helpful. So I might, at the beginning of the week, look at it, or I might do it the day before, so the night before, it's the next day. But most of the time, I know what I'm going to do, and that's, if I know my routines, then things are all good. So for instance, on Tuesdays and Fridays, I'll go to the physical therapist, and every now and then, the Tuesday will be a Monday, and Friday will be a Thursday. That's why I need to check my phone. But I also know that even though I really want to go there, and I love going there because it's good for me, and please note that on Tuesday, when I go to the guy, his name is Marcel, we usually do things with stability training. And when I go there on Friday, and I have to admit I haven't done that for a while, so maybe it's time to do it again, I go boxing. So it's, and the latter depends on the amount of energy I get, whereas the stability training I basically can do all the time. I prefer to do it outside. I love to do it outside because I just love to be outside when there's a possibility. But it's something that can be done inside as well. So back to planning. I also know that on Monday and on Wednesday, I go live. I go live twice a week. So on Monday, I go live on Instagram with Michael from Wheels and Warriors. And then on Wednesday, if she has time and there are no emergencies or other stuff happening, then I'm going live with Cheeky Joe. Love going live with her. And she has so many things she has experienced that we can always talk about something. So I'm very good at talking to people and, getting the tidbits out of them and the information. So I basically do not have to do a show about myself. I probably don't even have to come up with a structure. That's the fun thing. When I know I'm going to go live with someone, then I'll just pick their brain and let them talk. And that's actually what they told me, that, oh, I didn't know I was going to tell that. You make us share things that we didn't know we were going to share. And that's, that's why I'm a coach. I like to listen to people and get them to talk and find the answers. Like, what's making that tick? And that's because I'm curious by nature. So, when it comes to planning, of course, we can take that schedule, but then there's also circumstances and feeling the energy and feeling good enough to go do it. So one of the things I like to do is also go for a walk, or maybe go on my bike somewhere. Going on my bike is a little bit more challenging. And of course, depending on how I feel, I might go do it and might not go do it. And quite honestly, when I haven't felt good for a while, like I did back in December around Christmas, New Year's Eve, I'm sorry, I see a funny message here. That's kind of funny. It says not dying, but so and in combination with me talking about not feeling very well, that's kind of funny. Anyway, so I like to go for a walk. So Wednesday up till Sunday I can go there. Monday and Tuesday they're closed. So then I have to find something which is a little bit further away. And so when I normally go for my walk, I try and do it without a brace. But if needed, I can put it on. And it's like a kilometer. So it's less than a mile going forward and then another one going backwards. So it's a little over a mile going back and forth. But if I go a little bit further beyond the restaurant, because it's closed, and the restaurant, of course, it's healthy. Well, at least you can make it as healthy as you want to. But if I have to go further, then it means that I end up near the gas station or the McDonald's. Yeah, you get my drift. And fortunately, COVID is over and done with. Of course, it's not gone, but at least the terrace is open again, so I can sit there for a little while, and then I'll have my stuff with me, my notebook, my pencil, maybe my phone, maybe I'll do a little recording. So I use it to go somewhere, and then usually when I have arrived somewhere, I'm not only taking a break from moving around. And for those who are wondering, what is she talking about? We're only talking about a mile. Well, I couldn't walk, as in use 2 feet, for years on end. And it's only been like for the last 4 or 5 months that I'm not needing crutches anymore. But that's because I do have my brace. And I have to be honest that I had an injury to my ankle, which happened in the summer of 2014. And then I had to learn to walk again. But I couldn't learn to walk again till, say, somewhere 2019 to 2020. Which sounds like a long time ago, but for me it isn't. So having to learn to walk again, I don't know how many times it's going to happen again, probably a couple of times. I now am experiencing actually that there still is a little bit of a limit, not just to my knee, but also to my ankle. So the knee was new thing, hence the brace. And I was actually building up the whole walking thing and the whole cycling thing. And then my knee caved in last summer, and then it was all over and done with. So I'm back at it again. And yeah, and how weird it may sound, thanks to what happened last summer, I got that brace. And because I got that brace, hey, there's Gianna. I'm now capable of walking without the crutches. Jenna, I would love it if you join. So if you want to join, just let me know. So she doesn't know but I can walk without my crutches. Well, actually, she does know, but she hasn't seen it. I think the first time I came over, I was still wearing those funny colored tapes. And I remember coming to Florida, and there were some people there, and they looked at me, and it's called, what is it called? It's not called physiotape. Now, anyway, it's got all these bright colors, and people were looking at me, and then they were looking at me again. Now, it's not a tattoo. No, it's not socks either. So what is it? And it was funny. So that was the first time when I went to Florida, I actually used that tape to make sure that it helped to keep the joints moving in the direction it should. But nowadays I don't need that anymore. So I've seen the whole scala of things, from braces from tape to braces to actual braces right now, and in between, of course, the crutches. But okay, so back to planning. Like I said, you can also do it when you feel like it, when you have the energy. Then I would say don't wait until it's that time of day that you normally go do things, or that time of the week that you normally go do things, but just go and do the stuff that you feel like you're doing, and you can use the energy that you've got left for something else. Of course, it can also mean that you might need to rest a little bit, and that's why I like to combine the two. So I like to combine the moving with actually doing stuff. And, like I said, sitting down somewhere, maybe even, I'm talking about discipline. That's my topic for the day. And and my question was, or what I said is discipline a dirty word? Because for me, discipline can be really a dirty word, because then it links to planning, and I so do not like planning. So, I'm from the Netherlands. So I'm here in Europe, but I was actually talking just a moment ago about when I was in Florida. So let me know where you're from. But going back to the whole taking advantage of things thing, that's also when I'm traveling, I like to take pictures. I like to record certain things. I like to write, especially when I'm out of the normal environment. It gives me the opportunity to actually be very creative. Yeah, I guess it's the first time that you join me. So, are you movement makers or just question? But that's, taking advantage of the circumstances is also something which can really help. Which brings me to the circumstances itself. So, things about the weather, for instance. So, it's spring now. It almost feels like summer, the moment that the sun starts shining here and we can walk around in a t-shirt, even if it's just for a day and not again for a couple of weeks. It's like everybody starts to smile, especially over here, because it's so gray most of the time in the Netherlands, especially first autumn, then the winter, and temperature goes up and down, so it could be like freezing during the night almost. Well, actually, on April 1st, on Fool's Day, we actually had snow, which was a big surprise to me. But we also had sunshine, and when everybody has sunshine, then we start doing things. And that works for me too, I like to go outside. People feel more happy, we're smiling to one another, and I really want to go do things. And I've actually noticed this, that I said, okay, so first I need to wrap up my bookkeeping, because I have to pay my vet every quarter. So I wrapped that up, and then I was like, okay, and now I'm going to clean up this place. So a year ago, my mom passed away. Her house got sold, And then I needed to get some stuff here because I couldn't say goodbye to them. And it was like, if I did, it would be like I wouldn't be around my mom anymore, or that I was like, I don't want to know you anymore. It's that weird feeling, and maybe I should have started with this thing, because it really had a huge impact on me, on my energy level, on what I wanted to do and what I could do. And one of the things I really learned was that being live during training really helped me, because I could see what the others were doing. We were talking about it. And even if I wasn't fully present, I remember there was one time that I was actually crying, it actually happened a couple of times. It was just nice to be there, and feel like surrounded by friends, even if it was online, because all of it took place, of course, during the whole Corona time. So, but yeah, it's, prior to it, it actually cost me a lot of energy, because when my mom was going downhill when it came to her health, I wanted her to be able to live at the house. That was her one big wish, and I really wanted that for her. But, it became harder for her to get her own food, and of course, if she was thirsty, she would get something, but then again, she didn't, because she was afraid she would fall down. And, well, there have been occasions that she actually fell down, so that's absolutely true. And not being the person who could walk easily myself, because I was still healing with my ankle, that was prior to my knee caving in. It was like, oh, okay, how are we going to do this? So I couldn't cook for her or anything. I couldn't clean. I mean, for years, I encountered that same problem myself, like, yeah, if I would do anything, I would lean against something, but you cannot lean against a stove. I mean, that's dangerous. And so I remember, at the first few years, I was very frustrated, like, okay, what am I going to do? But getting back to my mom passing away, which was February 2021, February 1st, she, I guess it had taken its toll. And also because I'm coaching people, and for some reason, I get the odd ones out. And please don't feel insulted. But if I talk about inclusion and the odd one out, then you probably know what I'm talking about. And I'm one of those people too. And usually it takes one to know one. But yeah, so I had a couple of clients who basically, I was sort of on suicide watch. And I wanted to help them out, give them a voice. I was their voice sometimes, and other times I needed to learn them to express themselves. So a lot of things happened during that time, during those few months. And especially being called early morning by the police to come over and open the door so they would be able to pick her up or whatever was needed. That was basically what cost me the most energy. And then, of course, she was changing herself, which was because of old age, and that didn't help either. So when she wasn't around anymore, part of me felt better, was more energized, so that was good. But then there was this other part, and when I would go in there, in the house, that made me feel sad, and I didn't want to say goodbye. I didn't want to let go. But one of the things I actually found there when going through her stuff was this little guy. And I don't know if you can see it, but she drew a little face on top of its head. And, well, I do have a lot of those wooden dolls because I went to the Academy of Arts. And this is a little something which came from the toy store, which was from my father. And when my father passed away, which is a decade ago, we continued the store until my mom died. Of course, COVID made it all very hard to keep going with the store. A lot of times it was closed. But you know, it was those little things which made me feel like, yeah, it's, you know, warm and safe. And of course, when she wasn't around anymore, we had to clean up the house, and it was huge. There were 2 houses actually. And well, my brother and my sister were sort of frustrated. That's probably an understatement, because I couldn't do it. And it was quite funny, because if you would see my brother, then you would see me. Then I would literally have to hold everything. I would have to go through it like, okay, yeah, okay, I can put it away. Or no, that's something I want to hold on to. And so he could go really quickly through all the stuff, talk about discipline. And for me, it was a whole different ball game, because it would bring back memories for me. So I would go down memory lane, and, you know, like I said, I didn't want to let go, and that made it a whole different thing. So circumstances are so important when we're talking about discipline. Circumstances can basically kill the mood, but they can also kill the vibe, as in the energy, and you don't have any energy left. So I was finally getting to boxing. Then my knee twisted, but I still like to do the boxing. Of course, I got my brace at some point, but it was really the winter time and falling ill, not COVID, but sinusitis, which I have basically every winter. Which gives an immense amount of fatigue and headache. So the moment that you get up, it's actually like, oh, I want to lie down again. It's that feeling. So as long as I didn't have to move, I could do like 20,000 things. But the moment that I would start walking, that would be a whole different ball game. And I would be sleeping a lot. And that's why I basically stopped boxing altogether, and I actually really want to do it again because it's kind of cool. So circumstances can really make it or break it. Then there's motivation. And there's something, I don't know if you've heard about it. There's something called external motivation and extrinsic motivation. And there's internal motivation, intrinsic motivation. So internal motivation is, it comes from within. It's something you really want to do, and external motivation is, it's required of you. So having to do my taxes and muster up the motivation to go do it, of course, it's external motivation. And internal motivation is like, hey, I want to go outside, the sun is shining, and I like to experience that freedom, especially now I'm not using my crutches anymore. I've got my hands, you know, and I can hold the phone, I can take pictures, and I can tell you it's a world of difference. And yeah, I may not walk very quickly, but still my companion is this watch. It's an activity tracker from Marvel. Yeah, you can actually see it, a Garmin device, and I love it. You know, I can put it on, and then it knows when I'm starting to walk, how much I'm walking, and in between I obtain all these goals. It thinks I'm going up the stairs because I'm going up the hill, and of course I'm taking all these steps. And then there is also the thing of how long am I actually moving. So all these good reasons to get things done. Motivation. Talk about motivation. So when I'm doing stuff and I think it's hard or challenging, like for instance this thing, I've got a very cool device. It's called a Roland Go Live Cast, and I got it. Have I used it? No. And why not? Because I thought I could attach it to two Apple devices, and then I looked at the back and then I thought, no, I can't. I probably can, but, I need to sit down and watch a YouTube video, see what they say about it, and then I need to get going. But by the time I've watched the YouTube video, then probably I'm over and done with it. So I actually want to go do it straight away, and if I can, that's between me and that whole thing. But lately I've been thinking about, but I want to do some things. So that's a good motivation to say, okay, I'll start by watching the YouTube live at some point, and then I'll go on and on and on. And I can't get any more expensive things until I figured out how this works. So I love to do things when it comes to video editing and also when it comes to music and all that stuff. But, it does make sense to know how that works first. So take one step at a time. Each time that I take a little step, that actually helps, that actually works. So what else did I write down? It's not on here right now, but I'm going to have a little M and a V tattooed on here, probably with a hashtag too. And it stands for motivation, it stands for moving, it stands for a lot more than that. But that's the way to be reminded. So there are also other things instead of tattoos. Brendon Burchard has a very cool thing. He says, put in your phone a number of reminders. Like 3 words. How do you want to start the day? How do you want to feel during the day? So I've got intention, courage, and confidence. So intention, I know what I want to do and why I want to do it. Courage to go do it, and if I do it often enough, then confidence. And I'll tell you a little story. When I came to see him, probably this was at when we still had HPX High Performance Experience. The next year I came back, it was before growth got introduced. So at some point growth got introduced next to High Performance Experience, and the High Performance Academy, actually he called it. And then it was only growth day after that. And of course COVID came, so everything changed. But the funny thing was, we had been discussing the 3 words. So the first time I went there, and I think it was 2018 in September, I would ask people, what are your 3 words? What are the 3 words? And whether I would see them in the hallway, or I would sit next to them, or I would see them at Starbucks, if I would see this card around their neck, then I would know, okay, they are part of that same conference. Of the High Performance Academy, and then I would say, okay, what are your 3 words? So the next year, when I went back there again, people remembered me, and that was kind of cool. So I'm not sure if it was because of the crutches, because once you had seen me with the crutches, I did high-speed crutch hopping, because, I wanted to move around, and that was my way of experiencing freedom. But those 3 words, they really worked, and still, when I have certain settings, you can still see those 3 words. So, reminders. Other reminders could be, I was talking about training and attending training. So, every 2 weeks, Evan Carmichael has this thing, it's called Movement Makers, and every week he has his Inside Readers group for people who have bought, not read, bought, Build, Surf. And of course the goal is for you to read it and ask questions about it, but I doubt many people actually have read it, because we need an incentive to go do it. But what I know is we always learn a lot of things. So recently you did a challenge about it, as in a long-term challenge. Well, not a long-term challenge, it was actually 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. And about a year ago, just before my mom passed away, or around that time, Zendeman actually read the book. So Zendeman is the certified coach from Evan. So going back to it, going there every Thursday, and sometimes just for the Inside the Readers group, and other times for both the movement makers and the Inside the Readers group, has really helped me to keep track on things and to keep going. Because if you get reminded of certain things and you talk about it and you can ask questions, there's no such thing as asking questions and then not implementing them. I mean, at some point, you're just not believable, and it gets annoying for the other party to have you ask questions and not do something about it. So people who give training actually like it when they see that you are improving your skills. And there's improvement. There's no such thing as, at some point, surpassing the master. Well, I'm not going to say that I'm there yet, but, you get the drift. You get the idea. And so that's a reward on both ends. The reward is when you look back that you can actually see, hey, I've grown doing this, that, and the other. And also for the one teaching, it's also something like, hey. And also when it comes to motivation and reminders, I talked about going to the physical therapist. But here's the other thing. When you need motivation, the first thing to possibly think about might be a coach or a therapist. A therapist is basically to help you deal with trauma or deal with something at least that you need to wrap your head around, and it doesn't necessarily have to be caused by trauma. The coach helps you get ahead, short term, so you look at the future. Okay, what are we going to do? So that's more discipline based, and the coach can have a framework for that. So it's quite funny, and I know I talk about Brendon Burchard a lot, but recently he was talking about the old way of coaching. So sitting, listening back, listening. I can tell you that's pretty difficult actually. And then there's using the framework, and then of course the question is, how does that apply to what the other person needs? And I do know, because he is talking about habits, including courage and confidence, that always works. I'm a mixture of all those things. So I've been training in several areas. I also am very curious, so I like to read and listen to people, and also to my clients. So I basically have a whole bunch of things in my head, and I'm both a coach and, by the way, also a counselor and a therapist. So I mix things a little bit up, and because of the videos I'm doing, and then I come back to both Evan Carmichael and Brendon Burchard. They have been doing all those marketing things, and then you can come back to frameworks, because even when you do videos, if it's easier to do it using a certain structure. And that's what I learned, if you want to be able to be a speaker on stage, then go do it in front of the camera and just, start talking. And I have to say, Pete Vargas too. I really have to, from stage to skill, he's a really good one too. When it comes to what do you do when you want to go on stage and speak about it. And let's not forget Ted McGrath too. He's really good too, M2M. Okay, so last but not least, going back to the coaching. When I coach people, things for me are so much easier compared to for the client. And why is that? Because I am not emotionally involved. So I can take a step back and I can look from the outside. And basically that's also what I teach my clients, when they're emotionally invested, like, okay, so take a step back and then watch what's going on. So my thing is, I teach you to speak up and to speak out. I give you a voice. And like I said, sometimes I need to help people a little bit more, especially the young ones out there. And I actually might be their voice. But my goal essentially is, especially business owners, to make sure that they get voice. And you might think right now, hey, hang on, did you say business owners? They've got employees and all. Of course they've got a voice, but that's not the way it works, because a lot of them, they started the business and then it started to grow. But, it's like moving upwards. Do you have the skills? I mean, you can be really good at business, really good at inventing things or coming up with things, seeing how it all works, seeing the big picture. But communication skills and talking to people and getting the best out of people, that's a whole different ballgame. And, when people cannot express themselves and they start to focus only on work, or way worse, do totally other things, but are not good at talking to their family, their loved ones, they basically get excluded. And it could be that they're excluded because of the work and because of their own customers, but it could also be because of other reasons. And so I love helping out business owners. Why? Because if they change, it has a direct effect on their environment. Talk about spouses, talk about, well, okay, I'm not meaning that they have several spouses at the same time, but you know what I mean. So talk about their spouse, maybe a future spouse, their children, if they have any children, but also their employees and maybe their customers. And usually they are good at talking to the customers, as in they're good at listening. But then there's the thing. Now it's about expressing what you want, and that's a whole different ballgame. So, but when I can get to teach them, it has effect on many generations, and that's what's so cool. And you know, a lot of people assume that because I'm a woman, that I automatically coach women. And here's the thing. When I grew up, I started doing jiu-jitsu growing up, and then at some point I figured out that I couldn't just play sports like any other person. So when I was at high school, I didn't go and I didn't work out with the other people. But then at some point I figured out, hey, there's something like a fitness gym where I can go to, and that's what I did. And I learned, you know, about strength and how to do all those things. And I even got to do aerobics, but of course I couldn't jump. Because back then I already had problems with my knees. So instead of jumping, I would do things basically on the ground. That's what we called it. So my feet were always, one foot was on the ground instead of, you know, jumping up and down. And at some point I would use braces. And one of the things I really loved to do was stepping. I loved to do the stepping. It was wonderful to do. Anyway, so back then it was more of a guy thing, you know, when it came to fitness. And then I trained alongside some bodybuilders. So no, I've never been one. I just trained alongside a couple of them. And then I went into the IT, and in the IT, of course, guys mostly. And I also had weekend shifts and evening and night shifts. So you get to talk a lot, get to know them. And then I was asked to teach certain training kits, certain structures, and go teach people. And again, you know, it was sort of like a guy's world, a man's world, where I always say I grew up in a guy's world. And that's because I've been talking to so many people, and later on I got into the whole customer service thing up to contracts. And, the thing I loved the most were not the people in the suits. It were the people who were obligated to wear the suits when they were going to a meeting, but actually would like to walk around in a sweater and, just be down to earth and really connect with them. And then, see what one would need and what the other would need, and then get them together. And basically that's what I'm still doing, just not at that level, but making people understand one another. That's, if they get to understand why they are not understood and how they can make themselves understood and hence change certain things, get a better understanding of what's going on and what they could do. That's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to see someone actually get a better feeling about themselves, feel more energized, standing up for themselves, expressing themselves, not taking any crap anymore. Amazing. That's one of the most beautiful things of what I'm doing. Anyway, getting someone like me or someone else, I guarantee it will help you to get certain things done. And, depending on what someone needs, I can be really firm. And, most of the time, well, probably all the time, I'm not very subtle. I'll just tell it the way it is. And yeah, of course, you need to be able to handle it. And sometimes I do, take a few steps back if I see that person can't handle it straight away. But usually I'm not the person to go around it and do this dance until we're there. It's like, okay, do you want to go and get a step ahead, or don't you want to get a step ahead? So that's the way I work. But that helps, because then you have no excuses. And I know what excuses are. I mean, I have plenty of excuses myself. So let's not have the other one excuses as well. So I guess those are my things when it comes to discipline. So I've been talking about circumstances, varying from the weather to grieving to, really taking advantage of the fight, planning. So yes, you can have a fixed time schedule, or you can also say, when the moment is there, I'll just take advantage of it. I've talked about motivation, external motivation, things that need to be done, but also internal motivation, things which really feel good. And I've also talked about little reminders and rewards. For the other one, who is supporting you, but also for yourself when you actually see the progress that you've made, which comes back to reflecting. So, is discipline a dirty word? It shouldn't be. And, having talked about it so passionately, I suppose it isn't. And a lot of people actually say, I'm very disciplined. I'm like, nah, that can't be me. They're not talking about me. But when it comes down to it, I do actually do a lot of things, but I also take my breaks in between. So can I be more disciplined? Of course I can be. I'm pretty chaotic as it is, but when I know I have got a job to do, then I'll do the job. So on Monday and Wednesday I go live, Monday on Instagram, Wednesday on StreamYard, hence on YouTube and on Facebook. And those are moments. So on Sunday, sometimes on Saturday, I'll already start talking to Mike. Okay, what are we going to do? Because I know that at least an hour prior to it, I need to post it in Instagram in order to be able to schedule it. Same story when it comes to StreamYard. And then specifically to Facebook, it requires a certain amount of time. And then, of course, we want people to watch it. It's way more fun when there's a live audience, commenting, going on the show and talking to us as opposed to being alone. And that, of course, requires letting them know, hey, I'm going on live with whoever it is. On Mondays, of course, it's Michael from Wheels and Warriors. And on Wednesday, hopefully with Cheeky Joe, but also with other people who come on. And there are some people out there that I have so much fun with when I'm live with them. Like, for one, Terry Wade Thompson. You know, we can go really like back and forth. Woo, and that's a lot of energy. And I love the guy to pieces just because of that. So, and then to think about that, we are on opposite ends of the world. I mean, amazing. So, what are your thoughts on discipline, and what in this video has really spoken to you, and what would you like to try and do? Well, let me know. And of course, if you need someone to help you move ahead a little bit quicker, then you know where to find me. And if correct, I'm going to put in the description, talk about discipline, where you can go for a free course on speaking out. So no, that has nothing to do with discipline. I likely will be putting something in there so you can look back and watch it back and maybe do some things. But I still need to create that. So if it's been months after you've been watching this, it should be in there. But like I said, I'm a little chaotic at times. So I might actually forget to put it in the description until someone says, hey, no, like, oh yeah, that's true. You know. So what do? Do you consider discipline a dirty word? Do you not? And how do you remain disciplined, or what do you need in order to get it done? And again, if you need someone to help you out, just find me and I'll help you there.